group is called Walk With Me. Her name, Timea Nagy, a self-described sex slave survivor. Welcome to our program this morning, Timea.
Hi, how are you?
We're wonderful. Nice, bright, sunny day. And you're in Toronto. You're in Toronto, are you not?
I am.
I think you've got a great day there as well.
It's beautiful.
Now, let's talk about you. You are a sex slave survivor. How were you forced into the trade? How did your story begin?
My story began in 1998. I'm from Budapest, Hungary, and I was offered a summer job in Canada. I was 19, turning 20 at the time. I took the job offer. I came to Canada. The agency paid for my airfare and the other costs, traveling costs, and when I got here, they took my identification and they forced me to be stripper.
You didn't come here, though, to be an exotic dancer. You came to do other domestic work.
That's correct.
Now, how did they hold you prisoner? How did they force you to do this?
Well, they didn't have a gun, if that's what you mean. They started to smoothly threatening me that if I don't dance and make the money that I owed them, then they're going to find my family. And they started to name my mom. They started to name my brother and where they work and where they live. Just to let me know that they know exactly where they are, and if I don't want them to be hurt, then I should just do what they told me.
And from exotic dancing, it morphed into prostitution?
Not in my case. I mean, I was forced to work in a massage place on a couple of occasions, but I wasn't very good at it, so they took me back to the club.
You receive any of the money that you earned during that time?
None.
So how did you
None whatsoever.
Yeah. How did you get out of this all?
I realized certain things that they were saying weren't true. One of them was that somebody is always watching us in the club, and when I realized that it's not true, I went out and bought a dictionary, and I started to communicate with the club members and the staff members, and eventually with their help I escaped.
And you went to the police, and what happened at that point?
I did not go to the police because I was too afraid to go to the police, because they told me if I go to the police here, they're going to kill me. So I went back to Hungary, and I went to the Hungarian police, and they didn't believe me. So it's just a whole other issue, but eventually I came back to Canada, and much later on I went to the police, and we went to court 6 years later, and the charges were dropped because there was no human trafficking law at the time in Canada.
Must have been heartbreaking for you.
It was very disappointing, yes.
Has it been easy to tell your story?
It doesn't become any easier day by day. Every single time I talk about the story, it's like ripping up a Band-Aid.
How big is this crisis in this country? And you know, is the sex trade, the sex slave trade, flourishing here?
I can't tell you exactly how big it is in Canada, but I can tell you that since my organization is known to the police, for the last 3 months, we have 23 victims in 3 months. So, I don't know. You tell me.
Well, tell me a little bit about your organization, Walk With Me. Why did you start it? How did you start it?
Well, it was an accident that I started off. I didn't mean to, but it seems that what happened to me, and when I started to talk about that like a year ago for the first time, it seemed like that the law enforcement can learn a lot of it. And because since the trafficking like 10, 12 years ago, nothing else really made sense for me to do. This kind of like it hit home. So I realized the effect that I made by telling my story. Law enforcement can learn from it, victims can learn from it, and we can prevent it. So that was a year ago, and a lot of things happened since then. So now I'm doing public awareness. I teach in schools and churches. I teach in police colleges. I train frontline officers, social workers, crisis counselors. And on the other hand, we have a special victim service unit, meaning that if the police comes across, or any organization comes across a human trafficked victim that they can't really help, because every single victim's case is so complicated and needs so much more than any social agencies can provide right now. We can provide all that. So we do mobile crisis counseling. We pick up the victim, we take them home, we keep them safe, we get them doctor identification. dentist, plastic surgeon, whatever they need.
The connection to Glendene Grant of Kamloops, what is that?
Well, it's a survivor to another survivor connection. It's something that is really hard to explain, but first time I heard about Glendene and her daughter, my heart broke. Although I am a survivor, but I'm here and I can talk about it, and Jessie is still gone. So Jessie is the first human trafficked victim that really famous in Canada. And the reason why she was so famous because she's a Canadian raised and born and raised girl, and so Canadians thought that trafficking is only exists in Thailand, or it's not something that happens to your daughters or sisters. But since Jessie, the awareness is so much bigger, and Canadians starting to take it very serious. But unfortunately, like every news is only in the news for 3 or 4 days, so it was my way of showing Glendene to keep her daughter's name and story going by naming our first award after Glendene and Jessie Foster.
And that will be bestowed on the 15th of April at a still undisclosed location. We've run out of time, but thank you so much, Timea, for sharing your story.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Walk with me, Timea Nagy.
Thank you.